A years-long battle over private beachfront property is coming to an end in a Lincoln County courtroom.
For 2 days, the judge heard arguments from two families. One that wants their neighbors to share the beach. The other arguing that since they are the rightful owner, they should be the only ones able to use it. Here's News Center Maine's Pearl Small.
Do you use the beach when you stay at Stafford Place?
Always.
History is on their side. That's what Benjamin Ford is arguing on behalf of the Hill family during day 2 of their trial over property rights.
It's about this family fighting for the right to use a beach that they've used for 125 years.
The properties sit on a stretch of private beach just northeast of Popham Beach State Park. The Hills' home is separated from their neighbors, the Tappens, by about 3 acres of land that the Tappens own. That includes a path to the beach that the Hills say they and people who rent cabins they own behind their property should still be allowed to use, as it's always been.
If you buy a house in a subdivision and there's a map and it says there's a park here, most people understand that if you own the house in the subdivision, you can use the park.
However, Glenn Israel, who represents the Tappens, says some parts of that history paint a different picture, bringing up a time when all property owners were facing a tax increase, and Dick Hill allegedly sent his neighbors a letter offering to relieve them of that burden by purchasing the private beach.
So the area we're talking about right now, that was the subject of the 1981 letter, that's part of what you are now claiming is the common area.
Right.
Okay.
Israel says ownership plays a key role, citing a 2021 deed where he believes his client actually purchased those exact sections of private beach, giving the Tappens the right to restrict access.
And it's a deed for some unallocated land in the subdivision, in other words, land that doesn't have a lot number on it.
On the other hand, Ford says it was a release deed, which he argued is invalid because the supposed owner never had a true claim to the land in the first place.
So for example, I could sell you the Brooklyn Bridge right now and I could give you a release deed for it.
Ford says there's a lot at stake for the Hill family, who could be restricted from using the beach land directly in front of their home if the Tappens win. What's
the point of a beach if you can't use the water? What's the point of a beach if you can't sit down? What's the point of a beach if you can't have your kids play build sandcastles?
Yet, Israel says the Tappens are simply fighting for their right to enjoy the land they paid for.
And there's always been an unwritten rule that you sit in front of your own cottage and you don't bother your neighbors. And that rule has, as of late, been violated.
Whether that violation is true will be for the judge to decide. In Wiscasset, Pearl Small, News Center, Maine.
And by the way, that trial did wrap up today. The lawyers, though, don't expect the judge to issue a decision for a few weeks.